Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. Today's webinar features Pilar Gold, which is a Brazilian-focused gold producer with aspirations to aggressively grow annual production from 40,000 ounces to over 100,000 ounces by 2023. The company's hub for production is a 4,000 ton per day modern facility with a 4 million ounce gold resource. The company is also conducting a drill program at Sertão, where it is obtaining high-grade results. Sertão averaged about 29 grams per ton gold of production between 2003 and 2007. Today, I have with me on the webinar Charles Chabris, who's the president, Jeremy Gray, the CEO, and Paulo Afonso de Aguirre at Pilar Gold. The format of today's webinar will be comprised of two parts. In the first part, Charles, Jeremy, and Paulo will provide an introduction to Pilar Gold, and then in the second part, we'll take your questions live. So please submit them using the chat box, and we'll get to as many as we can. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into it. So Pilar Gold, for Pilar Gold, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the Pilar Gold corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Pilar-specific disclosures. So with that out of the way, I'll turn it over to Charles, Jeremy, and Paulo to update you on Pilar Gold and what you have to look forward to with this company.
Thank you, Taylor, for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I think we have a very exciting news story that's emerging in Brazil. So Pilar Gold is just under 1 year since we acquired our first acquisition of the Pilar project in the state of Goiás, Brazil. This is our management team. Jeremy Gray is our CEO and founder, and he'll be presenting a little bit later. Thomas Papandal is also a founder and director. Israel Olivier is our general manager for the Pilar assets in Brazil. Richard Crew is our country manager for Brazil, and myself as well. Pilar Gold takes ESG very seriously. And here is a list of some of the programs that we're involved both in the community and on the environmental side of things as we work with the community around us to be good corporate citizens and good neighbors. So as I mentioned, we're just under 1 year since we acquired our flagship property, the Pilar operation in the state of Goiás. One of the key highlights there is an increase in the size of our resource from 3 million to 4 million ounces. And we have 3 drill programs currently ongoing. We completed an amalgamation of Fina Goldfields, and we'll be talking to the key asset there, Sertão, which Jeremy will be talking to, along with Paulo. We acquired Pokani Gold, which is a free dig alluvial project in the neighboring state of Mato Grosso. And most recently, we acquired the Bodo tungsten mine, which is in northeastern Brazil. As I mentioned before, Sertão, we started drilling on that in July 2021 with 1 drill rig. We've recently added a 2nd drill rig, and we're getting some exceptional results. Here are some of our main objectives for 2022, to aggressively drill and bring into production Sertão, increase monthly exit production from the current amount of about 4,000 ounces per month to 6,000 ounces per month. Correspondingly, we expect to see a reduction in our all-in sustaining cost to less than $1,100 per ounce, and a public listing in the second half of Q3 of this year. Here's a look at our current corporate structure. We have 202 million shares outstanding, along with some warrants and stock options. On a fully diluted basis, we currently sit at 217.6 million shares outstanding. We have an ongoing private placement of $5 million, and that consists of a share at 70 cents and a full warrant. If this is fully subscribed to, our fully diluted after closing this financing will be about 232 million shares. As far as the use of proceeds, the bulk of it is focused on aggressive drilling and development on the Sertão project. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Jeremy Gray, our CEO, and he's going to show you how we're going to climb from our current status to mid-tier producer status.
Thank you, Charles. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your time this afternoon. As Charles said, we're in the middle, or we're just about to complete the fundraising, which currently values us at $120 million. We've been building this business now for 3 years, and the Sun capital is over $300 million in the 4 different production hubs that we have now in Brazil. We believe we're bought really well. Pilar was a fantastic transaction. Equinox have been phenomenal supporters and are big shareholders of Pilar. And you can see the other 3 mills that are currently on care and maintenance, but we're hoping to bring those back into production later this year in 2023. But the one project that we believe will take us from 4,000 to 10,000 ounces by the end of really middle of next year is Sertão. You can see on the map, if you can, it's a little bit small, but Sertão sits to the south, 2 hours drive south of the Pilar mill, which is 4,500 tons a day. We knew Sertão was special, and it was back in the day. Just so I can move that. This was in the day. The next slide here. It was, as Charles said, the highest grading gold mine for 3 years. It was, I don't know if you can see that number there, but they averaged 29 grams open pit consecutively for 3 years. The best quarter was actually 46 grams open pit. Troy went from a $2 million market cap to 500 million on that little pit you see there in the picture. And they only did 3 holes in the down dip and left. Now, we can go into all sorts of different theories as to why they left such an incredible asset. But we believe they left probably 95% of the gold. And we're very lucky to have Paolo now joined us 2 years ago from Anglo Gold, who's on the call today. Paolo actually rocked up to our office in Goiás Velho 2 years ago and asked for a job. And I thought, geez, you've got an amazing job at Anglo Gold. You're the top geo there, big company, great package. And really, it was Sertão that attracted Paolo back to where he first started his career 18 years ago. And to be honest, we got a bit distracted. We bought this beautiful project 3 years ago. It was our first acquisition. We then got distracted acquiring Pilar from Equinox. That was a 2-year program. As Charles said, we then bought the Poconé assets from Larry Page and the team at Valterra, and then bought this beautiful tungsten mine, Bordeaux, which we think could become one of the highest grading, biggest producers in the industry in the next 12 to 18 months. And because of the acquisitive nature of the company, I always said to Paolo, sorry, we have put Sertão on hold. And after we acquired Pilar on April the 16th last year, it was a very, very proud day for all of us as a team. That's when I said to Paolo, listen, go and start making a plan, find a driller, and let's put one rig on this beautiful asset. And after, the first 5 holes, funnily enough, well, at the time it wasn't very funny, but they missed every hole. And partly that was because we were drilling, just checking what was under the old mill to check if there was anything there. But on hole 6, this is when Paolo started to get his eye in. And as you can see from these widths and these grades, we've had just about every hole now is turning into an absolute rock star. And the last 2 especially, or the last 3, number 13 on the Nilsson's Reef, 100 meter at 218. And then only 2 weeks ago, we got this hole 26 and 29 at 182 and 123. And I just want to show you what this core looks like. And I'll hand it over in a minute to Paolo. But when you see those grades, there's almost no nugget effect with Sertão. So what you see there is generally what you get through the mill. It's not very thick, but it's what essentially made Troy Resources into such an incredible company for 3 years. And it's extremely homogeneous, like a toothpaste. So, you often see other companies announce 10 meters at 100, and a few years later, they only come back with 10 grams through the mill. We're pretty confident that what we're seeing right now will give us a 30 gram to 35 gram feed into our Pilar mill, which is currently only delivering from our Pilar mine and our Maria Lazara mine a grade of only 1.2. So it's a very big impact. This was one of the 2 holes that came back 2 weeks ago, 1/2 meter, 182. Again, there's very little nugget effect there. And this was the 124 grammer that we... Now, I just want to show you why we're getting excited, because this is the red line is the configuration of the old Troy pit. It's essentially the size of 3 ice hockey rings. It's tiny. And they pulled out 260,000 ounces to a depth of literally only about 45 meters. These are those 3 holes that I just showed you. So about between 50 and 150 meters from the old pit, we're starting to get some extremely high grade, and it's very similar configuration and sort of very similar to what Troy was mining in that pit. Very, very high grade, very skinny, but homogeneous material. Now, this is what's exciting us. It's basically, we're trying to convert all the purple on the right, which was the old pit. And the idea is to just get as much of that purple 45 gram plus feed as we continue to drill to the west. Now, why we're excited is if we scan back, and Troy didn't know this when they left in 2006, but Yamana did a hole 1.3 kilometers to the west, SRT-01, that came back at 2 meters at nearly 19 grams. We think that's the Cruise Reef, which is south of the Nilsson's Reef. And that tends to be between 2 and 3 meters at 10 to 15, 20 grams. We're currently not drilling that because we're chasing this super high-grade Nilsson's Reef. And that other hole there, GBD80, was a hole that was done by Western Mining before they sold it to Troy, which was only 1/3 of a meter, about 120 grams. And the idea is we're going to bring 4 rigs, 2 rigs from our Maria Lazara South drilling program, which we have currently right now. It's a beautiful program. We think we'll probably got 2 to 3 million ounces at Maria Lazara South, which joins up with our Maria Lazara mine. But with the grades we're getting at Sertão are just so phenomenal that to us, this picture here is what will take us to a $5 to $10 stock. As background, we were the cornerstone investor in K92 way back in early 2016. At one point, I think we owned a quarter of K92 at 18 cents a share. And when Sertão came along on the market 3 years later in 2019, we swapped our K92 for Sertão because we genuinely believe that Sertão is much, much higher grade than Cora. Maybe not as big ounces, but with multi-million ounce target here. So essentially, the idea, and you can see on this pictorial here, Cruise Reef is the green, Nilsson's Reef is the blue. And the idea is we're going to put rigs all up that hill and along the valleys. And we believe that's a multi-million ounce, very high grade project that will transform Pilar from a low grade producer to a very, very high grade producer. And the beauty of having all this wonderful infrastructure that we acquired from Equinox is that it's right there, it's truckable, And we're hoping to do 5 to 6 trucks a day initially, and then go from there. But the opportunity to go north of 10,000 ounces a month, if this grade continues, is significant. Now, I just want to hand over to Paolo, because this is his baby. This is his pride and joy. Paolo is one of the hardest working geologists I've ever met. He runs a team of over 20 in the Pilar geology team. He's running 3 different programs right now, but Sertão's really his baby. It's only 30 minutes drive from his house in the beautiful town of Goiás Velho. Would highly recommend if you ever can come down. It's a beautiful village. It's our home. It's our home where we base ourselves when we're down in Brazil. And Paolo, maybe just hand it over to you now, mate, and you can give a little bit more color on as to why you're so excited.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you. Hi, everyone. So it's been a fantastic opportunity to be working back at Sertão after these 17 years, because as Jeremy said, I've started my career working at Sertão in 2005, when Troy Resources was starting to mine the stage 5. And at that time, it was very great to work in such a unique high-grade mine. And now we are receiving all of these good results, very high-grade results, and we are exploring and proving that the continuity of the down plunge of these previous mined ore bodies, it is still there, and we will delineate these resources. Okay, I really believe in the potential to extend and find new high-grade ore shoots. So far, we have Creels and Nilsons, but I think we will find the next ones, and soon, very soon, we will reopen this mine. It's a very shallow ore body. In parts that we see that we have opportunity to reopen some parts of the open pit to doing some pushback. And these last 9 months since we started to drilling and receive all of these results, it's been very exciting for us. I really believe that is just the beginning of the story of a big mine. As Jeremy said, and Charles, it's a multi-million ounces project that is coming. So I think you can see the high grades that we are receiving from Creels and Nilson's Reef. Yes, Nilson's Reef has this that has a higher grade, and it's not so thick as the Creels Reef. But all of both ore bodies, they are in the similar context, in the similar package that we call Sertão horizon. And I think, Jeremy, you can pull to the slide of stage 5 that you have stopped. The next one, the last one, I think. And where we can see all the potential that we have for the underground. Okay, so that's a huge opportunity for us, that one. So this is part of the program that we did last year for the Nilson's Reef, and we are exploring just after the finish of the open pit of the stage 5, and we are hitting the ore body. Everything continues there, and keep continuing to the down plunge. That's okay.
Great, Paolo. That's fantastic. Maybe you're obviously available for questions later. I'll hand it back to Charles now to show we have a lot of other businesses and assets in Pilar that Charles would like to show you as well.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Okay, so this was our first acquisition, and to date our largest acquisition. It's the Pilar mine in the state of Goiás, Brazil. Since we've taken it over, we've been aggressively doing underground development, lots of underground drilling. For the underground mine itself, we have increased the resource there from 2.2 million ounce to 2.9 million ounce just for the Pilar underground itself. Along with that acquisition came two other underground mines, along with an open pit development project. Currently, we're producing about 3,000 tons per day from that underground mine. Recent drilling where we've tapped into in the HG2 zone some higher than expected grades. Here we can see some of the widths and the grades. The Pilar underground mine itself averages just a little over a gram per ton. So we can see with HG2 that we are seeing significantly higher grades there with some really nice intercepts. What the beauty of this is, within about 2 or 3 weeks, we're actually going to be producing from this newfound zone. And so that'll increase the throughput going through our mill. And, you know, the average thickness is somewhere around 10 meters. So you can really build tonnage for the mill very quickly there. Here's a diagram which depicts the Pilar underground mine itself. On the right-hand side, you see the area in white, and that is what's has been developed and or produced. Then you have the olive color below it, defines some of our current resource area. What's important is it's open in many directions. So this, with additional drilling, the resource will continue to grow, and this is going to be a very long life mine. Off on the left-hand side of the diagram, we see the outcrop extension of the Pilar itself, and that is our open pit development project called Tres Barracas, and I'll talk on that in just a minute. The second underground mine that we acquired in the Equinox acquisition is called Maria Lazara. And that was brought back into production in 2021. We've really been focusing in on underground development there, along with development drilling. So we are seeing the grade tends to be a little bit higher than Pilar itself, and it's averages about 1.6 grams per ton from MLZ Main. What's very interesting for us, and as Jeremy mentioned, we have 2 drill rigs on site right now drilling Maria Lazara Southeast, and you can see that the grades there that were very encouraging, just a little over 2 grams per ton. So we're in the process of bringing that from an exploration license into a production license. So within 2 years, we expect to be producing from this. We will be doing another decline to access Maria Lazara Southeast. And then obviously, and with development, we will connect the 2 mines underground. Maria Lazara is very close by. It's about 6 kilometers away, trucking distance, and it goes through the Pilar facility. As I mentioned before, this is Tres Barracas, the outcrop extension of the Pilar underground mine. We expect somewhere around 1 gram per ton average over the life of this development. And we're about 18 months before we start enjoying production from an open pit here. It's about, again, it's about 6 kilometers to the PGDM plant, so it's easy trucking distance. It's a very good size and thickness. And there's a high-grade zone which will be in the earlier stage of development there. Caimar is the 3rd underground mine that came from the Equinox acquisition. and it has only briefly been in production. It's been on care and maintenance. We're currently dewatering the mine and putting together a mine plan for it. Towards the end of the year, we expect to restart production from this and truck it to the PGDM facility. It's approximately 40 kilometers away, so it's an easy trucking distance. It enjoys a little bit higher grade than either Maria Lazara or the Pilar underground mine itself, a little over 3 grams per ton. We'll be doing a lot of development drilling here to expand the resource, but it's a very, very young mine. The only reason it was put on care and maintenance, I believe that was in about 2016, was a very low local price for gold. There's all kinds of exploration potential that comes along with Cayamar. Along with the Fina Goldfields acquisition is another underground mine called Cascaville. It has its own gravity facility there. What's interesting about Cascaville itself, it has very, very high grades itself. Skinnier veins, but as you can see, very high grades. The panel sampling right around 70 grams per ton. The Maestri vein, which is in red, is over 50 grams per ton. We have some development work that we'd like to do there. So a restart budget of about $1 million. We expect to turn our attention to that towards the end of the year and in 2023. Right below Cascaville mine itself, there's a high-grade gold discovery. There's only one hole into it. This is a high priority follow-up for us, but as you can see, 17.5 meters at about 1,200 grams per ton is a very, very nice result. And so that's another priority for us as far as a follow-up. In Q4 of last year, our second acquisition that we closed on is Pilar Gold. It's in the neighboring state of Mato Grosso, Brazil. It's a free dig alluvial operation. We currently have it on care and maintenance. We probably need to spend about $1 million there as far as facility and equipment upgrades, but it's got the potential to add about 1,000 ounces per month once we're back into production. Also, along with Pilar Gold, there is another exploration and development project. It's in some very good real estate. It's called Lima. And again, it's a free dig operation, but all of our neighbors enjoy higher grades there. This is the Livramento is the pictures that you see here. It's a lower grade. It's probably sub 1 gram per ton, but being a free dig operation, your operating costs are very low, so it can be very profitable. Our most recent acquisition was the Bodo high-grade tungsten mine, and this is in northeastern Brazil. This is a very interesting project for us, and we know it's not a normal fit for a gold-producing company to take on a tungsten mine. It was basically an acquisition that was too good for us to pass up. We haven't formulated yet what our plan is with bringing this mine back into production. We have our people starting to do the mine plan and planning for additional development there. Historically, This mine started producing in the 1940s. And in fact, the US government sourced high-grade tungsten from this mine during World War II for munitions. So another interesting project, this likely will be a spin out from Pilar Gold itself into another company, but we see that as a good value add for our shareholders. Here's some photos of the existing gravity processing plant. Everything is in good working order. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for listening in and welcome questions from you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Charles, Jeremy, and Paolo for that great presentation. So we will now turn to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Just a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. So with that, we have had some come in already. The first one I'll start up with here is one I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, is just when are you aiming to go public and be listed?
Okay, I'll field that question, Taylor. Thank you. Okay, so 2021 and the start of this year being a very busy year for us. 4 acquisitions. We have about 6 Brazilian subsidiaries. We're in the process of just bringing all the financial records current with current audits on all these Brazilian subsidiaries so that we will consolidate into Canada. We expect to complete that process in the next 2 months and then start the listing process. There's a high probability we'll do a direct listing with Pilar, either on the CSE or TSXV. We have looked and will continue to look at other corporate acquisitions as well, possibly a reverse takeover. So with that, we expect to be trading in Q3.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned the financing you're currently doing. What is kind of the cash balance that you're looking at kind of once that's in hand?
Okay, so this financing, when fully complete, is earmarked for $5 million or approximately 7.1 million units. And the main target for that is to accelerate the exploration and permitting and development with regard to Sertão.
Okay. And then I guess on that front, we do have a question just wondering about permits for Pilar, especially for Sertão. You know, I guess what do you have and what do you need to get additional permits? Maybe just kind of an overview of the permits.
Paulo, could you please field that question and maybe address both Sertão and Maria Lázaro Southeast along with Trey Barracas?
Okay, for Sertão, we have a mine concession. We have to restart the process to say to the mining agency that we will restart the mine. We are applying for the environmental license for that to get the license to operate again, but everything is on course now. And regarding Pilar and Maria Lázaro and Caiamar, we have others mine concessions with all the permits on date. Maria Lázaro Southeast we are, as Charlie said, we are in the final phase of exploration to apply for the mine concession and publish the results and reserves.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have just somebody wondering about a clarification with the listing. I'll just read it here. Will you be public Q3 2022? Also, what are revenue, profit, and cash on hand at present and upon listing?
Okay, that is a relatively complex question there. Okay, our current profit, or I would say free cash flow, is typically runs about $1 to $2 million a month. In taking over the Pilar facility itself, we have had a few growing pains, and we think those are largely behind us, which have affected some of our production runtime and obviously some lost ounces there. We have a small cash working capital deficiency right now, but we've been back in production for approximately 2 months now, and that is quickly getting absorbed. Once we are able to bring Sertão into production, I think that's going to be a real game changer for us, because we will go from the current production level of approximately 4,000 ounces per month upwards to a total of 10,000 ounces per month as we develop Sertão. But importantly, that is done with very, very low operating costs because of the high grade nature of that deposit. And so our all-in sustaining costs, once fully in production, we expect to be less than $1,000 per ounce.
Great. Okay. And we have a question. I believe you mentioned it in the presentation. It says, what would be your target valuation? I believe you said 120 million. Was that it?
Yeah, that's in USD. With our current financing in place, we're sitting right around 140 to 150 million dollars of valuation is what this financing is based on, and it's been very receptive.
Okay, turning more to a couple technical questions. What is your best guess for production at Pilar when the HG2 comes online?
I think it's just a little bit too early for that information. That will largely depend on how many faces that we're able to open up and when those will be coming on. But I do know, in guidance from our production team at Pilar, that we hope to see initial production from there in about 2 weeks.
Okay, great. We do have a couple questions just wondering about kind of security in Brazil, both with trucking ore around as well as kind of on the raw materials front that's stored at mine sites and stuff. Maybe if you could just comment if you know what your outlook is on the security front there in Brazil.
Well,
do you want me to take that, Charles?
Sure, absolutely, Jeremy.
I think one of the beauties of Sertão trucking is we don't need a mill at Sertão. We have Fort Knox at Pilar, very high security. Now, obviously, when you're trucking 30 tons of, you're trucking $60,000 type trucks, you obviously will have security driving behind it. But it reduces an element of risk where you're pouring gold in the countryside. It's a beautiful farm, Sertão, but in the past it was susceptible to security risk. And this is partly why we want to truck it to Pilar, but also save a lot of money building another mill, which we just don't need to do. And we're actually lucky that Francisco has joined us. Francisco was the Sertão mill manager back in the day, and he's now running our mill at Pilar, and he's got the job of blending, obviously, this super high grade with a lower grade feed from Maria Lazara and Pilar. So, 5 or 6 trucks a day will double our ounces, to put that in perspective, on a daily basis versus the 150 trucks that come from our Pilar and Maria Lazara mines right now. So, yeah, I don't think purity will be an issue. It's and it's also not nuggety gold. So it's not gold that you can necessarily you don't. Our Cascavel mine, for example, which is 20 kilometers up the road from Sertão, is much more nuggety. You can get some crazy nuggets out of Cascavel, but like I said, nuggety generally doesn't convert into high grade at the mill. So yeah, we think it's going to be, we've got a very good infrastructure. Where we are in the state of Goiás, it's a beautiful part of the world, wonderful staff, 1,100 staff we have, very hardworking. So it's a world-class operation. We acquired, a very big business that Yamana spent $250 million building back in 2013, which was the Pilar asset. So it comes with everything you find in Nevada or in Canada.
Taylor, I might add on to that. As Jeremy mentioned, Pilar is like Fort Knox. The gold area is very secure and very limited access there. There's cameras everywhere. How the gold is shipped, it's picked up at Brinks, and at the plant, we hand it over to Brinks, and they provide the security from there.
Okay, great. Another question here is, how is your relationship with the Brazilian governments? I guess both the different levels of government there.
Would you like me to take that, Jeremy, or would you like to?
Yeah, well, sure. Maybe even Paolo wants to answer it. I think we have a fantastic relationship with the state of Goiás, with Chamad. But yeah, Paolo, maybe you can give your perspective to the guys about, our presence in Brazil and the relationship we enjoy.
Yes. As you said, we have a great relationship with the environmental agency of the state of Goiás, that is SEMAD, we call SEMAD. The mining agencies, we are always in talk with them to talk about our plans of expansion and to get and apply for all the permits. So it's a normal relationship and with good feedbacks from them.
Okay, great. So let me go through some questions here, make sure I've covered them. Okay, I think that we've kind of gone through all the questions that have come in here. I think, let's see if I have any here. Going forward, I guess, you put together the company with all these assets. Are you mainly, with regards to strategy, just really looking at kind of what you have, or are you still kind of open to making additional acquisitions if something of interest comes up?
Well, I would say,
Charles, do you want me to just answer that? Or?
Yeah, please do.
Well, look, we've obviously been very busy, and we have 4 mills, 3 of which are dormant and in perfect working condition. So we have quite a lot to crack on with already. We did look at a couple of major acquisitions this year, but we're very happy with what we have. We want to stay in Brazil. We feel very comfortable in Brazil. We have amazing lawyers, the infrastructure, everything in place in Brazil. And we did look at Peru. We looked at Guyana, but we've decided to be 100% Brazilian, basically, at the moment. And we have enough to go on with. And I would be very happy when Sertão is operating, when it's hopefully producing what we hope it will produce, to then go back and really start to ramp up production at our other operations. The one that really also excites me is the tungsten. I mean, we've been just taken aback by the incoming calls on the tungsten, because this was a mine producing only 18 months ago. Super high grade, extremely clean, high grade concentrate. and it can go back in very quickly. And, you know, it could be a substantial player in the industry. And we've been inundated with calls from offtake partners wanting to buy the tungsten production concentrate because of obviously the concerns with Russia and China right now, because they account for nearly 90% of global supply. So, you know, that's definitely one of my loves outside of Sertão and what we're doing in the other businesses. But I think we've got a lot already on our plate, and we're definitely somewhat underfunded because we're private. You know, we don't have a public listing right now. We have the support of 374 amazing investors. 373 of those are mum and dad retail investors. We only have one institution, which is Quinton Henning, Kevin and Tavi at Crescat. So, you know, we've never had a big check written by a big name investor or a big institution. We've always done it pretty tough, but we've built a really big business just with the incredible support from our friends, family, you know, all the wonderful investors that have written checks along the way over the last 3 years. And I think we've got enough on our plate right now before we buy anything else bigger.
Yep, makes sense. Okay. So with that, I think we will leave it there. We've gotten through all the questions pretty well. So I would like to thank Charles, Jeremy, and Paolo from Pilar Gold for taking the time to host the webinar today with us here at Red Cloud Securities. And thank you to everybody on the line for tuning in with us.
Well, thank you, Taylor, and thank you, Red Cloud, for hosting, and thanks for all the participants. It's been lovely to update you on the Pilar Gold story.